Have you ever stopped to think that the secret to saving your most prized orchids might be hiding, well, right there in your spice cabinet? Today, we're diving into how cinnamon, a simple, everyday kitchen staple, can actually be a super powerful guardian for these incredible flowers. Let's get into it.
Oh man, if you're an orchid grower, you know this exact feeling. It's that pit in your stomach. One day you've got this gorgeous, healthy plant, and then almost overnight you start to see that dreaded rot creeping in. It's a really high stakes problem, and honestly, it can happen with terrifying speed. So that brings us to a really fascinating question. What if the best defense wasn't some complicated chemical you have to buy at a specialty store, but a simple spice that's probably been sitting in your kitchen the whole time? Okay, so to really get why cinnamon is so effective, we first have to understand the enemy. And we're not just talking about any old garden pest here. We're talking about very specific, microscopic invaders that are a huge threat to our orchids. You know, it's kind of a cruel irony, isn't it? The very things we do to care for our plants, like trimming a dead leaf or dividing a big specimen, that act of pruning actually creates a fresh wound. And that wound is basically an open door, just inviting these fungal infections to come right on in. And these invaders are no joke. We're dealing with some seriously aggressive fungi. You've got Pythium or black rot, which is a water mold that can literally turn a healthy pseudobulb into mush in just 48 hours. Then there's Fusarium, which sneaks in through those cuts and leaves this telltale purple ring as it clogs up the plant. And Rhizoctonia, that one's a silent killer that just eats away at the roots, starving the plant from below. All right, so we've met the bad guys. Now it's time to introduce the hero of our story. And look, it's really important to get this. This is not just some old folk remedy or a gardening myth. We're talking about a legitimate biochemical tool that has real science backing it up. So what's the secret? What's the magic ingredient? Well, it all comes down to a compound called cinnamaldehyde. This is the stuff that gives cinnamon its amazing smell and taste. But way more importantly for us, it's a super potent natural fungus fighter. I love this way of thinking about it. In the wild, the cinnamon tree makes cinnamaldehyde to protect itself from rotting in the damp, fungus-heavy rainforest. So when we use it on our orchids, we're basically borrowing the tree's natural immune system to protect our flowers. How cool is that? So how does this actually work? Like, what is happening on a microscopic level? Let's move from the rainforest to the science lab for a minute and break down exactly how cinnamaldehyde goes on the attack. It's a pretty brutal three-pronged attack. First, it literally rips apart the cell walls of the fungus, making them leak and just collapse. Second, it stops any dormant spores from ever waking up and starting a new infection. And third, it messes with their enzymes, basically cutting off their energy supply and suffocating them at a cellular level. It's a total knockout. And here's what makes it a real game changer. It has this amazing dual action. It's biocidal, which is just a fancy way of saying it kills the fungus that's already there. But it's also a desiccant, which means it's a drying agent. It sucks the moisture right out of the wound, which creates a dry barrier where new fungus just can't get started. That 1-2 punch is what makes it so incredibly effective. Okay, enough with the theory. Let's get down to brass tacks. How can you actually put this to work to protect your orchids at home? Welcome to your cinnamon first aid kit. You've basically got 3 main techniques. For any fresh cut, like after you've snipped off a leaf or a root, use the sealant method. Just dip that cut end right into dry cinnamon powder. It creates this perfect biological scab. For a spot of rot that's a bit deeper, go for the paste method. Mix the cinnamon with a tiny bit of water to make a paste and apply it right on the spot. And for Phalaenopsis orchids, which are prone to water getting stuck in the top, a light dusting in the crown can be a total lifesaver. Now, as amazing as cinnamon is, it's not a cure-all for every single orchid problem. To use it right, we also have to be smart and understand where its limits are and when we need to be a little cautious. When you put it side by side with synthetic fungicides, especially for a home grower, cinnamon has some huge advantages. It's totally safe for you, your kids, your pets. Fungi are way less likely to develop resistance to it. And come on, it smells way better than some harsh chemical. It's just a fantastic first line of defense. But, and this is a big but, here are the rules. Cinnamon is a contact-only treatment. It only works exactly where you put it. It doesn't travel through the plant's system. Because of that, you have to use it like a surgeon, very targeted. Don't just dump it all over the roots because it can actually harm new healthy growth. And if you're facing a massive,
full-blown epidemic in your collection, you might still need to reach for a more heavy-duty systemic treatment. And this really gets to the heart of it. When you understand the science behind why cinnamon works, you're not just trying some trick you read online. You're not gardening based on faith or hope. You're applying a known biochemical agent to solve a specific problem. You've moved into evidence-based care. And that kind of leaves us with one last thought, doesn't it? Cinnamon is just one example of this ancient wisdom that modern science is now starting to prove is absolutely legit. It really makes you wonder, what other amazing secrets are hiding in plain sight, just waiting for us to rediscover them?